Good news, all looking good out on the highways. We don't really have any reports of any accidents, no major slowdowns at this time. And as far as your forecast goes, it's going to be another warm one. 101 potentially today with a heat index of 107. So be careful. Of course, the hydration, check on elderly. You know how it is in the summertime. 97 for the high tomorrow, maybe an isolated thunderstorm. That continues into Friday. Maybe some stray storms on Saturday and evening thunderstorms on Sunday. We keep those highs in the mid to upper 90s. But hey, it's cooler than it was yesterday morning. It's only 76 right now on 107.5 The Game.
$6:18 this morning as we get up and get you going, and countdown is on to the release of EA Sports College Football 25, and they have done a great job of promoting this. This game might be awful for all we know, but they've hyped it up, built it up. They've done a good job of just slowly releasing little items out there, and one of the things they did yesterday was release the top 25 toughest stadiums to play. Now, this will be in the gameplay, Preston, and so this is maybe not necessarily what's in real life, but this will be in the gameplay, because I definitely do not agree with number 1 and number 2 at all. But we'll give you the list. Kyle Field, Texas A&M, will be the toughest place to play on EA Sports College Football 25. Bryant-Denny Stadium, Alabama, will be the second toughest place to play, and LSU will be number 3 according to their rankings.
Well, the rankings were based on these factors: home winning percentage, home game attendance, active home winning streaks, team prestige, and the infamous "and more." So we don't know what the "and more" means.
I love the "and more."
But those are some things that it was based upon. So according to the thing, this is how they came up with the list, just so everybody's clear on what they were distinguishing them on.
So your top 3 will be Texas A&M, Alabama, and LSU. That'll be followed by Ohio State, Georgia at 5, Penn State 6, Camp Randall and Wisconsin at 7, Oklahoma at 8, Florida State at 9, Florida at 10. Autzen Stadium in Oregon is 11. Clemson checks in at 12 with Memorial Stadium. Then you got Tennessee, Auburn, and South Carolina at 15. Thoughts?
Yeah, I would go through each one of these. I would say, depending on based on those criteria, maybe if this is about right. Obviously, using the words toughest, what does toughest mean? I don't think of some of the places I don't think as being traditionally. When I think of a tough place to play is it tough to play all the time? Williams-Brice is tough to play in regardless of what our record is. It's always going to be an environment. Some of these places are not very difficult to play in if the team's not cooking. One, the Swamp. If Florida's not playing well, milquetoast at best. We've talked about it before. Alabama, even when they're great, not a very difficult environment to play. You know what makes Alabama different? You know what's made Alabama difficult to play in?
The 5 stars that line up on the field?
Yes. The Hall of Fame coach on the sideline. The 5-star NFL guys that they line up at every position. It has not been about necessarily the stadium. So if you factor in all of the things that they factor in, yes. But moving forward as just a vessel or a venue to play sports, some of these places I don't think are as good as Willie B.
Well, let's just start with this. One of the most difficult, if not the most difficult place you ever played in was a smaller stadium in War Memorial Stadium in Little Rock, Arkansas. It wasn't even the actual home of Arkansas. And you just said it was because the crowd's on top of you.
People are nuts.
And
the stadium.
There's a slight fear factor of the people around you that they can get loose at any point.
Yeah, there's a difference. For Tennessee gets extremely loud, but it's huge, and 100,000 people honestly is not as intimidating as 20,000 people that I can look in your face. I see the wild animal that has overglazed your eyes. I see snot coming out of your nose. You're drooling. I see the third Bud Light that you've had. That is a little bit more intimidating than just a wall of barrage of people. That's not, yes, it's loud, but it's not intimidating. When you can actually see a person and you see disdain in their eyes, that's a little bit different.
I've been to everywhere in the SEC except Arkansas and Missouri. I've been to every other football stadium in the SEC. LSU is far and away. It doesn't matter what time they play that game. As a fan, not even as a player, I didn't have to walk by the Tiger like you did. LSU is horrifying. Like, they are the nicest people outside of the stadium. They were offering jambalaya and crawfish etouffee, and
it's almost like the LSU fans have the game switch, like the players, like, when he steps on in between the lines.
As soon as they walk in that stadium, it's all hands on deck, and if it's not bolted down, it could come at you. I've seen a Boy Scout leader in the upper deck pour a cup of dip on South Carolina fans back in 03 when y'all went there, and I was there for that, I believe, and that, like, horrifying.
Yes.
That was a night game. That was the infamous game. Y'all got up 14-3. James Atkinson had a pass down the sideline that would have put y'all inside the 5 right before half. He dropped it. And then in the second half, and what I really remember was, unfortunately, I think it was Corey Jenkins tried to throw a screen pass.
Yes.
In the second half, it got picked off and ran back, and it got run into the student section by them. And, like, their students lost it. And it was horrifying. And I do like this because we were both reading off of, I believe, the same article off of The Athletic. And in this article, 2 guys in here are breaking down this list. And Max Olson in here, he already says, I'm already nervous about my dynasty team's 5-star freshman quarterback having to play a Saturday night game in Death Valley. He's not ready for it, especially if the reports are true that Neck is indeed in the game.
It is, as they said, they have reported it. And so a lot of these things you talk about, these teams, whether it's a ritual, because I'm thinking about Virginia Tech is right behind us at number 17, and they have Inner Sandman, Metallica, which we will get to. So that's really, really cool. Penn State, the white out.
I've heard it's
cool.
I told Austin yesterday the 2 stadiums I've heard the most about that I want to go to, and if you want to throw a third in there that I think should actually be higher. But I do want to see Camp Randall in Wisconsin.
Jump around.
I want to see everything about. I've heard just a ton of great stuff, and I feel like I've got to get it done like relatively soon because I'm getting older. To where I don't know if I can go hit the little Friday night bar scene around campus, just to see, because I've heard great things about Madison and everything. Penn State, though, I've heard from several people that environment is pretty raucous, that those fans, they get in there and they get a little loose. Whereas, a good example, number 16 on this list, Michigan, I've heard that is the quietest 100,000 people that you can put anywhere. That may as well be may as well be out on that golf course.
It's a stadium full of Michigan men and women. Very proper.
Yeah.
We have class. Doesn't make for very intimidating stadiums.
But Wisconsin, Penn State, and the other one that we debated, Austin and I debated yesterday, that should probably be higher is Autzen Stadium, because I've heard that place, again, not a huge stadium, but they're 28-1 there in their last 5 years, and I've always heard that duck comes out on the motorcycle, and those people lose their mind out there, and that's one that I actually thought probably should have been higher. My ranking of this, just based on what I know and kind of what I feel, I'd have had LSU at number 1. LSU would be number 1. Georgia actually would be number 2. Georgia, I've been there for 12, for 3:30, for night games. That's another place you're not 100% sure you're going to walk out as a fan, much less a player. Player, you have the police escort. You've got some security around you.
This is true.
I'm looking at this from a fan standpoint. Georgia, there's been times I wasn't sure I was getting out alive, and that would be number 2 on my list. And then number 3 actually on my list would be Auburn. Auburn, and I was there for a close game and I was there for a blowout. Auburn does a really good job as well.
That's a really interesting list. As I'm going through the list, I'm thinking of, even when I think about Alabama, Ohio State, I can't think of anything that's specifically annoying about playing at that place. So, contrary to what we think, yes, it is very annoying to hear the chicken every time we get a first down.
Yeah.
if you were playing for an opposing team. That would get on your nerves very quickly. Much similar to when people just walking by and barking at you. Very annoying. The funny thing about that is those are things. The annoying thing about Kyle Field are just the fans. Just the people doing push-ups, wearing those goofy uniforms.
I went one time, and Will Muschamp was the coach, and Will Muschamp managed to suck all the life out of even the opposing team.
Oh, that's one of my favorite 57-yard field goals
to make it, I think, 38-3 or something.
That's one of my favorites. That was a classic.
And it was a neat experience, and they put on a really cool football experience. But yeah, their fans were super nice, almost too friendly, like super nice. They very polite. I mean, it's a beautiful stadium. It's a massive, monstrous stadium. But yeah, everybody was super nice and just kind of friendly about it. And of course, it helps when you're up, 38-0, and your coach is kicking a 57-yard field goal on 4th and 2 with 2 minutes to go to make sure you don't get shut out. But yeah, 803-404-6100. We'll continue. If you want to weigh in on this, you can do so. We'll get back into some Jim Schlossnagle, speaking of Texas A&M. The plane's engines had not stopped rotating before he had already left Texas A&M. He really just poked his head out and said, "You guys hop off. I'm going to take this just a little bit further."
Beep, beep.
We'll talk about that. Some other famous, I'm not going anywhere. Taxi?
It's one of my favorite things in college sports.
We'll talk about it. You're listening to Preston Thorne, Bill Gunner, she's Jen Jensen. It's the early game.
Preston here. Let me tell you about my friends at Absolute Glass, the premier glass company of the Midlands, offering auto, home, and business glass repair. So if your glass is damaged, shattered, cracked, or broken, they can handle the job. If it's a cracked windshield, that's no problem. They'll come out to your location and replace it for you, usually for free, and they'll work directly with your insurance company to take away the headache. That's right. They will come out to wherever you are, school, home, work, doesn't matter. They'll come out to you, give you a free quote, and take care of any job that you need. If you're looking to increase the value of your home with new windows and mirrors, Absolute Glass will come out and take care of that for you too. Windows, mirrors, shower enclosures. I say all the time, if you can see through it, Ray and Marianne at Absolute Glass can do it. So check them out online at AbsoluteGlassInc.com. That's online at AbsoluteGlassInc.com.
Well, it has gotten a little bit busier out there this morning. Highway 1 near Raven Road. Also, I-20 westbound at I-26 right there. Malfunction Junction earning its name on this Wednesday morning. And it's going to be a hot one today for sure. We are seeing heat indexes potentially at 107. Tomorrow, a high of 97, isolated thunderstorms. Chances really for thunderstorms rolling through the entire weekend with highs around 96, 97, somewhere in that range. Just going to be hot. That's really all we have to say. Right now, though, it's 76 on the early game.
About your future in Aggie Land?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's pretty selfish of you to ask me that question, to be honest with you. But I left my family to be the coach at Texas A&M. I took the job at Texas A&M to never take another job again, and that hasn't changed in my mind. And that's unfair to talk about something like that. That'd be like you asking Montgomery if he's going to sign in the draft. But I understand you got to ask the question, but I gave up a big part of my life to come take this job, and I've poured every ounce of my soul in this job, and I've given this job every single ounce I can possibly give it. So write that.
Coach, thank you very much.
He didn't have to.
He didn't have. Which one didn't have to?
Sorry, the coach did not have to take that job.
Yeah. Oh, I've given up so much of my life for this. Oh, which, by the way, he left TCU in a very similar fashion, saying he would never leave TCU for another job. By the way, let's just put that out there.
So maybe knowing all of that is why, sometimes if you were guilty of something, you're more angry and fidgety about things, because, well, I know I did wrong. So that's probably what he's doing there. He knows he's been a tool.
Mm-hmm.
No. Here's play that again. Play it one more time.
Oh, this is my favorite. Let's break it down.
Play it again.
Let's break it down.
Because what I want you to listen to is the defiance and the things that you can't take back because they're on tape. There are things he cannot take back from this, where he even says at the end, and he emphasizes, write that down, because that article almost didn't get out in time before he had taken the job.
Sir, I don't think I'm going to have a chance to write this.
Play that again one more time. Listen to the defiance in this.
About your future in Aggie Land?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's pretty selfish of you to ask me that question, to be honest with you. But I left my family to be the coach at Texas A&M. I took the job at Texas A&M to never take another job again, and that hasn't changed in my mind. And that's unfair to talk about something like that. That'd be like you asking Montgomery if he's going to sign in the draft. But I understand you got to ask the question, but I gave up a big part of my life to come take this job, and I've poured every ounce of my soul in this job, and I've given this job every single ounce I can possibly give it. So write that.
I mean,
Coach, thank you very much.
And that poor report, you don't treat people like that.
Well, no.
You don't respond as someone who's had to ask questions. And that was a young reporter too.
Oh yeah, and that was
that's what they try to do. They try to intimidate the people that they feel like they can intimidate. Mm-hmm. How dare you ask me? That's very selfish of you to ask me a question like that.
It's very selfish of you to do your job.
Yes.
I mean,
and actually, the reporter's voice at the end, and almost sounded a little broken, like
he was about to cry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry.
All you have to do. Gene weighs in on our text line. I hope the reporter will write that.
Yeah.
Right.
Again, he almost didn't have time to get it out before Schlossnagle taking the Texas
and
job.
Honestly, I hope that he took a little drawing of his hand with all of his fingers but one folded down and then just traced it and attached that to the article.
I just. You're right. We've got a couple here that we'll get to throughout the morning of incredible, just incredible denials, only to then backtrack. But the thing about this, one is the absolute defiance.
Mm-hmm.
To not even then get 24 hours before you've walked out the door.
Right.
Like not even 24, because this literally means you knew what was going on, and you've known what was going on for some time.
That's the question. For some time. How long did you know this was happening? How long did you know this was happening? And for as much as we talk about, are the players focused? Can they focus on one thing? They're 1 foot out the door. Hey, Jim, when you were trying to win this College World Series, what were you and your agent doing behind the players' backs when you were telling them about how they should be giving it all for the Gipper and all this? Jim was out the door, win or loss, regardless of what happened. He was going to Texas. This
Bingo.
didn't happen overnight.
Well, I do wonder. I'm going to ask a serious question for just a second on this. How much discussion do you think takes place between a coach and his wife as to whether you take this job? I want you to think about that for a second. For any of you who've had to actually move somewhere and you have a family to take another job, I can only imagine. I've lived in Columbia all my life, in Lexington and Columbia. Moved down here for college and have lived in Lexington. There have been times in my life where I've thought if I wanted to really pursue radio at an even higher level, I would have to move to Charlotte or Atlanta or do something like that to go to different markets. And I have no interest in doing it. My family's here. I want to be here.
We did that.
Did you? Mm-hmm. And how much discussion did go into it?
And granted, we didn't have the kids yet, but basically all of our family is in Illinois. So we had to make the decision when he had an opportunity down here, and I looked at it as well as a bigger radio market and all of that. But there's a lot of consideration that goes into it because there's so many finite things in your life that have to change. I mean, think about doctors and schools. I mean, there's just so many things besides just the literal move and leaving your family behind. So there's a lot of discussion.
Well, and here's the reason I bring that up, because, again, he had already accepted the job. And Texas fired their coach on Monday, I believe. Monday is when it was. So Texas fires their coach. Schlossnagle, this probably was in the works 2 weeks ago, maybe 3 weeks ago. Like, this is one of those things where Texas got their answer Sunday, probably after Texas A&M lost their game against Tennessee. Schlossnagle probably walked out of the dugout still in full uniform, cleats on, got on the cell phone, was like, I'll take the job. And Texas the next morning made the move on Pierce. And then you get this. And I just say that because you're –
Actually, wouldn't it have been great if there was some secret baseball signal that he was giving to Texas? And, like, somewhere, he's touch the hat,
rubbing the hat,
rubbing the shoulders, and like, I'm taking the job. Here's my signal.
We talk about tampering. These are the same coaches who always are complaining about this mythical tampering thing. There were conversations that were being had while he was trying to pursue an active championship.
And look, and I will say this: I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that.
How?
Because you do have to think about your future and extent. I'm okay with that.
Yeah, his
his
future was secure.
And they normally take place between an agent and the athletic director for somebody else. And I say that because, look, John Hendry, the third assistant now for Paul Maneri, he took the South Carolina job still working for Virginia and went to Virginia. I know he wasn't the head coach. He was in a entirely different role, but I just say I'm okay with that. What I'm not okay with is if you know what you're going to do, just answer the question with, today is not the day to talk about it. We'll address it later, instead of being a complete bleep hole and downgrading somebody's question, who, as many of you have pointed out on a text line, Schlossnagle got caught. I got caught taking this job, and you're asking me about it, and all the simple answer is, it's not the time or place.
He even tried to throw one of his players on the. Well, that'd be like you asking him if he goes out. Coach, what did I have to do with this? Why you bringing me into this? What's up with me? Yeah, he got caught in the middle of not doing the right thing.
I also wonder. Gene asks a very good question. If A&M had won, would have he left anyway?
That's a great question. We don't know. I think the pill would have been a lot easier to swallow if you could have been like, hey, guys, just by the way, I'm out of here. Here's a little World Series championship for y'all. Enjoy it. I'll see you on the other side.
All my goals were in front of me. Now they're not, so peace out.
Exactly.
New goals.
Yep.
New goals.
Exactly.
Goals reached.
It might have been a little bit of an easier pill to swallow for the fan base, but I think that is a very interesting question.
Instead, now it's a jagged little pill.
There is a
Which
lot
she
of
did sing the
there is
national
a
anthem.
there is a lot of rumors that Kevin O'Sullivan back during the Mark Kingston hire was set to take the South Carolina job, and it would have been Kevin. There's a lot of rumors. I don't know if there's any true confirmation on that, but a lot of rumors that Kevin O'Sullivan was going to take the job until he won the national championship. Was like, oh, no, I can't leave now. I don't know if that's true or not. I don't know. Only two people know if that's true, and that's Ray Tanner and Kevin O'Sullivan, and that's how.
This is why we need sources.
Yeah, we have anonymous. Well, a lot of anonymous. 803-404-6100. We'll continue on. Deion's denial?
Oh man, the denials get better and better. We go from somebody who's being defiant to somebody who's being slippery at best.
We'll let Preston explain that as we roll along. You're listening to Preston Thorne, Jen Jensen, Bill Gunner. It is the early game. That's yesterday.
Yeah.
This is today's.
Yeah, it's from yesterday.
Bill Gunner for Mid-State Roofing. For nearly 30 years, Larry Leitner and the family, they've been the proven leader in the roofing and waterproofing industry, and they are ready to help you today. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Mid-State Roofing is ready to help put you in a maintenance contract. Well, let's be honest, you do not think about your roof quite like they do. You only think about it when we have one of those big, bad summer thunderstorms that brings the heavy rain, the high winds. Well, guess what? Mid-State Roofing is ready to help you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Give them a phone call and have an on-call technician or a Mid-State Roofing employee speak with you. 803-356-1919. Again, that's 803-356-1919. Whether it's a high-rise or a hospital, manufacturing or industrial, Mid-State Roofing is ready to help you. So, again, give them a phone call. 803-356-1919. Tell them Bill Gunner sent you.
Welcome back into the early game. Preston Thorne, Bill Gunner, Jen Jensen. We're talking about one of my favorite topics, coaches denying that they're going to take a job. It's a tale as old as time. If you follow college football or college sports at any level, professional sports also, sports, you love the time when the coach starts denying the idea that they're going to take a job, when they get defiant with the reporter, tell the reporter that he's selfish. Well, this is a clip from one of my favorites, our guy Deion Sanders, who has took a different route in denying. He doesn't go out route denial or defiance. He goes with deferring. He slips around it. He goes into preacher mode. This is from an interview with Joe Klatt, who he seems very friendly with. They must be very comfortable with each other. But this is in the midst of a larger conversation. And I believe leading into this, Joe Klatt asked Deion something to the effect of, what do you see your future as this year? And Jen, here was Deion's response. Let's see if Deion ever actually answers the question, or does he do a good job of evading the question? Here we go.
Let me start by saying I'm a leader of men, not a follower of men. I'm a father, not a baby daddy. I lead my sons. I don't follow my sons. My sons, Travis included, are getting ready to migrate to the NFL. I'm not following them to the NFL. I'm a bona fide leader. I'm a daddy, man, not a baby daddy. I'm a real father. I paved the way for my babies. They're not paving the way for me. I plan on being here and being dominant because they are establishing something that we're going to continue to build on for years to come. And I'm thankful that they're establishing what they're establishing.
What?
That was not out of context. That was the answer to the question of,
That was not
Is there
edited
music
together.
behind that?
oh, well, yeah, you gotta give some production value to it, of course. But that was in context to the question of, will he follow his sons to the NFL? Or will he be at Colorado? That was his answer to the question. Now,
He may not get that choice.
Again, I've stated it. You can mark it down. This will be something that we'll see if I'm over. But this will be Deion's last year at Colorado. If he makes it through the year. I've also said that Shedeur, watch out. He's on alert for a mysterious hamstring at some point throughout the season, which he will mysteriously come up with a knee or a leg, maybe a back, something.
Provided they're losing, which we think they will be.
Which they will be. No, well, let's state it. If it comes back, if this is a freezing cold take, I'll take it. But Shedeur won't make it through the year. He'll be preserving himself to be probably a fairly high draft pick throughout the season. But that was Deion's way of going into preacher mode of saying, yeah, I'm probably not going to be here. Because he ever actually answer the question?
No.
I would like to hear the question, just the actual context of the question, just to know, like, was it as simple as, what's your future plans? You know, are you, or would you follow? You know, I'd like to hear the context of the question so I know what exactly he is indeed trying to answer, because he starts off going down a road, and I got caught up that there was music production behind it too.
That's part of what he does.
Like,
it's the whole smoking hit, throws the smoke bomb over here, disappears over here. It's what he does.
He's good.
I don't know. You know, they were the story of college football to start the season. Beating TCU, doing the things they did, the thrilling game against Colorado State, and then being competitive. Being competitive, that's fair, I think the right word. Being competitive with Southern Cal there for a little while, and then we did learn that the reason they were competitive is because Southern Cal could not have stopped the three of us versus their 11-man defense.
Correct.
But the bottom line on this to me is, who knows what's next exactly for Deion and Colorado. I just wonder what Colorado folks are starting to think now. Like, it's kind of like they're having to do home checks on Deion. Like, you got Colorado fans looking. Is furniture still in there? Do you see furniture? You see any fresh fruit in there? Is there there's fresh fruit? Okay, all right, good. Grasping mode, right? Okay, because it does feel like in the middle of the night he's going to move back to Texas, and then from his ranch in Texas or his home in Texas have a press conference. Hey, I'm just FYI, I'm no longer the coach at Colorado.
Bill, you brought up a great thing, so we can sneak one of these in here right now. Jen, really quickly on today's clip, you talked about them. About USC not being able to stop anybody. And the coach of USC is who?
Lincoln Riley.
Jen, can we get clip number 8 where Lincoln denies the rumors that he's leaving Oklahoma?
It's nothing to handle, I mean, it's pretty easy. I coach the University of Oklahoma football team, and you guys know me. You know how I feel about this place and this program. So we've all been down this road many times before. You guys know where I stand on that, and that hadn't changed.
He might be telling the truth on that, though.
That's the beauty of it all, Bill, because we all might be telling the truth, but the real fact is I'm not telling the truth.
Well, no, I
might be.
I would have to know when that was asked, because if you remember Lincoln Riley, the rumor was he was going to LSU.
Yeah, and that's what he said. He said, "I'm not going to LSU."
I think,
and he was telling the truth.
Yes.
I think we definitely need to have lie detectors on them when they're in these interviews, just for the fun of it.
Yeah, that would go
Ping,
well.
ting,
Yeah.
ping.
Would go real well.
Yeah.
We'll continue, though. We got some other audio from this. We'll let you listen to Schlossnagle get all this.
He even said, "Come on, guys, you know me." Yes, we do know you.
Yeah, you went west. We didn't know that. Whew. If you heard the temperature today, you heard it's going to be in the 100s, and that means you or the kids, you might want to go and cool off in your backyard pool. But if that pool has algae in it, if it's not very clean, then you're not jumping in, and then that means it's time to call Corley Pool Solutions, because for nearly 20 years, Tracy Corley and Corley Pool Solutions has serviced the pools around Lake Murray, and he is ready to help you. You need to line up your summer maintenance today. 803-445-8109. Tracy Corley and his team, they know routine pool maintenance is critical to the daily operation of your pool and the long-term operation of your pool systems and components. Don't let things go bad just because you're not getting your pool regularly maintained. Call Corley Pool Solutions today. 803-445-8109. They have flat rate pricing, including all of the chemicals. You will know what you are paying for. Call Tracy Corley, the pool guru, at Corley Pool Solutions today, 803-445-8109.
Malfunction Junction earning its name this morning, I-20 westbound at I-26, an accident there. Also, Highway 302 at Columbia Airport Expressway. Still have a report of a tie-up Highway 1 near Rabin Road, and at Crystal Springs Drive near Edmond Highway, an accident as well. 101 is what we're looking for the temperature today, and with all of the humidity baked in, looking for a heat index of 107. And then we stay in the upper 90s through the weekend. Isolated thunderstorms really could be part of the forecast every day through Sunday. Right now, though, getting started, it's actually a couple degrees cooler than it was yesterday. It's 76 on the early game.
We are back, all three of us, same room together for at least a few days before we take some different vacations for the 4th of July. And countdown, I guess it goes in, actually, the countdown to SEC Media Day. I was going to say, we got our countdown going on to the start of college football season. 66 days until August 31st in Old Dominion, 67 days until the Southern 500. But we may as well just lump in the EA Sports College Football release, which is, for those of you who are going to download it and bought the big old bundle package with Madden as well, that's just 20 days away. But 19 days, July the 15th, is the start of SEC Media Days, when we'll all kind of get back together and really start to really get into this football. And I think we'll see all 16 coaches there.
Never know.
You don't know how that's going to go. Who knows? There's still time for a coach to take another job, as we've been discussing this morning with what Jim Schlossnagle did. I should point out, by the way, he did coach at Clemson for 1 year.
Okay.
I just want to throw that out, just in case you want to make your own jokes today about that. But 1993, he was an assistant there under Jack Leggett. But this is something, as I'm trying to go, Michael weighs in, and we've been talking about Jim Schlossnagle, who on Monday night gave a angry, a fiery, an impassioned response.
Bill, you don't have to. Let's let Jim speak for himself. Jen, can we get clip number 1? Let's hear Jim. You don't have to fill in his words. Let him speak for himself. Don't be selfish, Bill. Let him speak for himself.
About your future in Aggie land.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's pretty selfish of you to ask me that question, to be honest with you. But I left my family to be the coach at Texas A&M. I took the job at Texas A&M to never take another job again, and that hasn't changed in my mind. And that's unfair to talk about something like that. That'd be like you asking Montgomery if he's going to sign in the draft. But I understand you got to ask the question, but I gave up a big part of my life to come take this job, and I've poured every ounce of my soul in this job, and I've given this job every single ounce I can possibly give it. So write that.
Coach, thank you very much.
And don't you forget it, the sacrifices. I worked so hard for you.
Got bad news for Jim Schlossnagle. We are not writing that. We are playing that.
Correct.
We are
Over
not
and
putting
over
it.
and over again.
We are not using our pens or pen. Nobody is using their pen or pencil anymore to write that. We are letting Jim Schlossnagle speak for himself.
You know, he was blessed with that last name for a reason. You know, that's probably a tough name to have, and I think he's earned it. Because he's just kind of a pork chop.
Fair.
If you're a little unfamiliar with what we're discussing, if you just kind of, I get it, maybe you went on the lake yesterday and you came home and you just went straight to bed. That is that was the former head baseball coach for the national runner-up Texas A&M Aggies. That was Monday night. That was Monday night after his team had just lost a one-run game to Tennessee to lose the national championship. He had been at Texas A&M since 2022. He'd only been there 3 years. It was only his third year. And he'd done some really good things there. He's coached. He's been a head coach at UNLV, at TCU, Texas A&M. And after that speech in which he basically broke down the reporter, told him to write that, less than 24 hours later, he has taken the job at Texas. I think that makes it even better. Like, let's just hypothetically say he had taken just another, I don't know what else is open out there at this point. But let's just say 24 hours later, he had taken the South Carolina job. It were open.
Mm-hmm.
All right, well, that's one thing. You're like, man, that guy's kind of full of it, right? This man is jumping ship from Texas A&M to Texas. And that rivalry is about to be renewed because there is a little brother syndrome with Texas A&M to Texas, and they felt they had grown out of it. We had gone Texas A&M. I had this discussion a lot when I was out there several years ago, just kind of seeing Texas A&M, and this was way before. But this was This was maybe 2018, I want to say, something like that. 6 years ago, Will Muschamp's kicking field goals to preserve not being shut out with 2 minutes to go on like 4th and 2s. But Texas A&M, those fans out there were like, we have emerged from the shadow of Texas. We are becoming the program in this state.
Well, they thought it was because they were in the SEC.
Right. And they were looking down on Texas. Hey, we're getting bigger, we're getting better, we're getting more money, we're doing bigger and better things. We're in the better conference. Fast forward, and now here comes Texas honking and waving as they pass Texas A&M, and as they pass them, they're like, "Whoop, we got your head baseball coach too. We're going to bring him along with us." This is a punch. This is a slap to Texas A&M from Texas, and I'll be interested when it comes out. I've not seen it yet. I'll Google it again here when we hit a break. The contract, I will be very interested to see what the number is on Schlossnagel's contract.
Oh, it'll be up there, I'm assuming.
Because it also, by the way, doesn't feel like he gave Texas A&M. He didn't even give Texas A&M, who is not lacking for money in the least, a chance to match that offer. I feel like
he was leaving, and he was also two things. He left and took his assistants with him.
Yep.
So he cleaned out the cupboard while he was leaving, didn't make sure to leave anything. Now, this is what we always go to Kendall Rogers from D1 Baseball. This is what he's saying. I was told by multiple sources that this deal, at least at the highest level, was done between A&M series with Georgia before the regional round. Take that what you want. That's multiple sources, and Kendall Rogers said that this deal was done at least at the highest levels. What does that mean? I don't know. Before the regional round.
Interesting. Okay, I have one more question, though. He, in that clip, said he left his family behind. So is he now going to move his family here, or is he making the choice to stay away from his family?
Well, I have joked about Monty Lee getting his passport stamped at coaching all around South Carolina. And that might be what my guy Jim is trying to do here. He's got the TCU passport. He's got the Texas A&M passport. Now he's just going to scoot him to Austin. Austin is a little bit closer to Fort Worth, so maybe they might live in between that area. So maybe they don't have to move. And maybe they don't want to move.
Technically, he's just been moving, I think he's just trying to move closer to the beach slowly and further south. I think he just wants to get a little further south because it looks like because he went from Fort Worth. I think he went east a little bit. If I'm trying now to look at a map real quick to try and remember where exactly Bryan and College Station is, but I think he went east, and now I think he is going south a little bit. So yeah, now his family's just got a direct interstate trip down, I believe. The whole thing. If he doesn't give that speech, this is just about Texas taking the Texas A&M coach. Now it's more about the baseball coach being a flat-out bully and a liar and almost public enemy number one, probably for the majority of the state, except for the people in Austin.
And that's a big state to make people mad. There's a lot of people.
Yeah, but the TCU people is like, see?
Yeah.
They're like, oh, now y'all are mad? Texas A&M, you mad now when the old saying goes, you lose them how you got them. They always talk about that in relationships. You lose them how you got them. Well, you got a cheater and you lost a cheater.
So Michael weighs in on this, and I'm going to read his text, and then you can go with it where you want. He says the conversation about players and the transfer portal is dead after what the Texas A&M coach just pulled. And that's a good point. How do you hold players accountable now these days when they want to transfer when the leader, play that Dion clip again, not right now, but the leader of the players pulls something like this?
Well, and I think if I were Texas and I see the history, somehow my contract would be crafted for him that, like, it'll hurt you if you hurt us. Like, if you just.
But Texas
blink
doesn't
away
look
the
at
night.
Texas looks at it in every sport. Doesn't matter whether they've had success or not. Texas looks at it as they are the preeminent job in this country. Their head coaching job. They look at it as if
But
why
what's to say
would
he's-
you ever turn us down?
Well, clearly he's had no problem doing that anywhere else. So
There you go.
I would just look at the history, and regardless of what kind of program I have, he has shown that loyalty is not a big thing for him, and he'll just kind of run off in the night. So I don't know.
We'll get into this a little bit more just as it pertains to. I think there is a loyalty aspect of it that we are asking of players.
You don't think he's been recruiting any time in the meantime? He hasn't sent out the text. He hasn't said anything about guys who are making their plans to go to Texas A&M because they rightly assumed that Jim was going to be there.
Yeah.
Well, they should be. It's a great point. Actually, that's a great point. They should be signed. And I guess that once, I don't know the exact rule. I might have to text somebody on this real quick and see if we can get a breakdown. Because you can transfer before you ever play a down, throw a pitch, take a free throw. But I don't know if you have to be enrolled to officially enter the transfer portal. Because you actually bring up a great point where that school, if I'm the athletic director, I guess that's who makes the call, and a recruit comes to me now and says, I want to be let out of my national letter of intent, you can say no. You can say no. And I think, and I wonder if a player has to enroll in school to then enter the transfer portal. Is it making sense what I'm asking? Because you actually bring up a really interesting point about that. About kids who have been committed to Texas A&M, and if he's been texting them and being like, hey, how firm are you in going to College Station?
And how has he been recruiting? Like, how long has he been thinking about making a change? So has his recruiting been not so much about the school, but about him?
Very good possibility, especially with the idea of the transfer portal. How many conversations has he had? Any conversations? Sidebar: if this deal was done before regionals, you don't think he's gone and talked to some players and said, "Hey, listen, some things are going to be coming down the pipeline." He gets no benefit of the doubt.
No, he doesn't. You're
No.
exactly
And so
right.
None.
Anything is on the table as far as how this deal could have been done. It's ridiculous to think that.
Well,
he might have been squirmy over here, but over here he was above board.
Here's the other part to what you're saying. You mentioned it. He's taking his whole staff.
Yes.
When did the staff know?
Mm-hmm.
Like, is the staff good? Okay, I do believe that they won't. I have a hard time ever believing that the staff mailed it in and this team made this run to a national championship game. So I do feel like the staff gave it their all in terms of this particular team and these last 3 weeks, regional, super regional, College World Series. But you do wonder, when did the staff know that they were doing this? The collective group, you're right about that, about still having to work the transfer portal, still having to work the recruiting. Like, there were things taking place. When did this whole staff know that they were exiting College Station for Austin?
Yeah, Coach Gunner, man, next year we're going to be great, right?
Yeah.
How does the coach answer that? Coach, I've been working on it. Next year when we play the Texas A&M, it's going. And coach is just like,
you're getting recruits, getting text messages from recruits who have signed who are like, awesome, can't wait to come join. This is great.
just give him a thumbs up.
You're right about
Bill Gunner likes this text.
There is
just send him thumbs up emoji.
There is zero benefit of the doubt to Jim Schlossnagle and his staff, and for what may have occurred, what they may have done over the last 4 weeks. That if I'm Texas A&M, I'd honestly, if you in any way, shape, or form, be trying to pull some phone records to just see what they might have been doing on their phones, because That's really crazy. It's not unheard of to leave one school for another. That's understandable. But to find out this deal has been done in place for so long, and then the defiance in that piece that we played. We'll continue talking about that. We'll also get back into college football a little bit. Toughest places to play. Preston Thorne, toughest places to play. And John Strickland set to join us here in about 15 minutes as well. You're listening to Bill Gunner, Preston Thorne, Jen Jensen. It's the early game. Bill Gunner for Old Timey Meat Market, where their business is built on the idea of providing you and me and a non-grocery. They've been providing a non-grocery store meat buying experience. They want to meet you. They want to know your name. They want to provide you with the absolute best variety and grades of meat available. And trust me when I say that, they did just that for the Gunner family this past weekend. We actually had a little party there for the Power Boat Run on Lake Murray, and they supplied 20 hamburgers, 15 bacon cheddar, 5 jalapeno pepper jack, and they were delicious. They've also provided us oysters in the past. Trust me, I don't care what you're looking for. Steak, chicken, pork. You can even find exotic meat. I've talked about the alligator tail. They've got thick-cut bacon and southern biscuits for breakfast. And for snacks, they've got chicken salad. Oof, put chicken salad on a little Tostitos chip and hot sauce, and it's delicious. Visit one of their 3 locations, South Congaree, St. Andrews Road in Irma, or the Lexington store. Stop by Old Timey Meat Market. Tell them Bill Gunner sent you.
And out there on the highways this morning, a few accidents we need to make you aware of. I-20 westbound at I-26, also I-20 eastbound. I'm sorry, that's I-20 eastbound at Highway 378. 302 at Columbia Airport Expressway, still a little bit of a slowdown there. Highway 1 near Rabin Road and Crystal Springs Drive near Edmond Highway. Looking for a high today of potentially 101, and that heat index could get up as high as 107. So do be careful today. Then we stay in the upper 90s really through the weekend with off and on chances of isolated thunderstorms. Right now, though, it's warming up. It's 78 on the early game.
$7:20 on your Wednesday morning. Preston Thorne, Bill Gunner, Jen Jensen. Reminder, the craft beer card is back. That's right, just $79, but it's a $360 value. 12 different craft beer locations, $30 at each location, and you can purchase it for just $79. Go to 1075thegame.com, click on Sweet Deals, and purchase your craft beer card today. 803-404-6100. Let's get out to the Love Chevy phone lines. Ray wants to weigh in this morning. Ray, how you doing? What's on your mind?
Hey, good morning. Good morning. Yeah, man, I'll tell you, this A&M thing, this is absolutely their worst nightmare. I mean, you're exactly right. 2 years ago, they were doing pretty good in football, and when they got in the SEC, they immediately stopped that Texas series because they didn't have anything else to do with Texas. And it wasn't just because, Texas is a great school and Texas maybe was up in the rivalry. Texas, I mean, you're talking about the little brother mentality. My God, the Aggie jokes, the way they picked on those people. I mean, in my travels in Texas, I can remember being in stores or restaurants, and there'd be a sign with an arrow pointing down. It would say Aggie Bowling Ball. I mean, it was a brick is what the Aggie Bowling Ball was. I mean, so they were tired of that, and to have one of their best teams ever in baseball tonight, A&M, and their coach made that speech he made, and 19 hours later, go to the dreaded enemy. I mean, it is unbelievable. I mean, it really is. I mean, it's golly, wow. But anyway, hey, I want to jump over to our football program, talk about the Gamecocks. I was looking at the schedule, and, I don't think I'm wrong, but of our conference slate, of the 8 schools, 6 of them are in the top 25 preseason. And I think we play Vanderbilt, and I think that's the only game we're favored in right now because we play Kentucky and Lexington, so we're probably going to be a dog there. So, and you throw Clemson. So you're talking 7 top 25 teams before the season even starts. I mean, that's daunting. But I really think until we get an offensive line that resembles an SEC offensive line, I think we're going to struggle. And to me this year, if there's any pressure on any one of the coaches, I think it's the offensive line coach. I think, I don't want to hear injuries this year. I know last year it was injuries, and that's just a fact. But man, they've got to improve on the O line. But that's just what I had to say. Thanks a lot, guys.
Appreciate the phone call. Yeah, fix the schedule by just being better, right, Preston? Be a top 25 team yourself. And look, I will say, and J.C. Sherbert said this yesterday on the schedule thing, this is actually, I think, one of South Carolina's more manageable schedules. I know you've got the Ole Miss, Alabama, Oklahoma 3-week stretch. Obviously, you have some named teams on there. We'll see how Missouri is by the end of the season. We'll see. I think there's a lot. Speaking of Texas A&M, first-year coach Mike Elko, maybe he goes in and is a great coach. Maybe he goes in and he's not. Obviously, he did some good things at Duke. We'll see again if Missouri kind of continues to hold up and what they look like. We'll get a lot into that. Countdown to that. That is July 15th, SEC Media Days will get going in Dallas, by the way. We will have Jay and I believe Elijah and Terry will all be out there. I will be here with y'all. We'll be covering it from right here in studio. But 19 days until SEC Media when we can get out there and get into that and really start to break down the schedule and everything.
Oh, by the way, since this was above all board, just a reminder that Chris Del Conte, who is the athletic director at Texas A&M, oh, yeah, who's his best friend? Jim Nagel. Yeah, best friends. Coached for each other for 8 years at TCU. So there's no way I was talking to my best friend about possible job opportunities, were there? There's no way that this conversation ever got broached at any point while he was 100% fully committed to Texas A&M. Could it have?
Oh, it definitely did.
Oh.
And I have no problem with that. I'm okay with that. I'm okay with the whole situation, except for the fact that he felt the need to act in the manner that he did on Monday night. And quite frankly, if he wanted to act that way, somebody should have been like, all right, we probably should not announce your hiring on Tuesday. Let's wait till Friday. Let's wait a little bit. Just
they're walking around town holding hands with each other. I can't believe it.
Like, I'm okay. I really, honestly, am okay with the entire situation, except for the fact that he basically, I mean, you don't treat people like that. Play the clip again. And it's, again, listen to the tone. And this is directed at, I believe, I did read this yesterday when it all came out. I believe this is almost a student report. This is a young reporter. And it's tough. I've been in that setting at a younger age, and it's tough to handle questions, and it's tough to ask.
This is nothing
questions.
different. Coaches try to bully media members all the time,
and that's where
all of these coaches do the same thing.
That's where I really have an issue with this. It's not that they probably talked beforehand. That's fine. That happens all the time. That's no problem. I get it. And I even said with South Carolina's search, you better have already had your list. When you made the decision to let Mark Kingston go, you better have already had your list, and you better have already spoke with contacts and knew who was interested and who wasn't. So I have no problem with that. I have no problem with him leaving. But this is where I do draw the line. This is Jim Schlossnagle Monday night after the national championship game.
About your future in Aggie land?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's pretty selfish of you to ask me that question, to be honest with you. But I left my family to be the coach at Texas A&M. I took the job at Texas A&M to never take another job again, and that hasn't changed in my mind. And that's unfair to talk about something like that. That'd be like you asking Montgomery if he's going to sign in the draft. But I understand you got to ask the question, but I gave up a big part of my life to come take this job, and I've poured every ounce of my soul in this job, and I've given this job every single ounce I can possibly give it. So write that.
Coach, thank you very much.
Genuinely feel bad for the kid. Also,
now he got to grow up too. In
this, first he calls it selfish. Then he proceeds to say, "I understand why you have to ask that question."
Exactly, because somewhere in his brain, he's probably like, that doesn't sound good.
Like, you can't. Yeah, you called him selfish, and then you're like, "I do understand why you have to ask that question."
Wait, do you understand why I'm asking this question?
And again, not that being a reporter is an overly difficult job, but what I will say in terms of this is, you don't know when Jim Schlossnagle is going to have another press conference. It's not like they opened up. They don't go in the room and be like, "Coach Schlossnagle will now take questions, and we'll do this all again on Wednesday and let you ask more questions." You get your question in then, and you just get his comment. You just get his comment, and you go with that. And whatever he says, I've told y'all the story. I've told y'all the story of Eric Wolford being interviewed by Youngstown State for the Youngstown State football job back in 2011 or 2012, whatever it was, before Sean Elliott came. And it got out, and Eric Wolford called me and said, "Hey, I need you to put out," he's an assistant coach, so a little bit different. He goes, "I need you to put out that I'm not leaving. I'm not going anywhere. I love it here. This is where I want to be. I have higher aspirations than going to Youngstown State." I go on to BigSpur.com. I put out sources. The source was Eric Wolford. Sources indicate to me that Eric Wolford is indeed staying, will not be leaving to take the Youngstown State job. And 24 hours later, there he is taking the Youngstown State job.
You got played.
I got used, and that happens. And, but in this situation, you have to get the comment. You have to get the open public quote. That's why you ask the question. If he wants to say no comment, he says no comment.
So what are the rest of the reporters doing in the media scrum? Why wouldn't somebody follow that up with a follow-up question? Because he never answered the question. If our job as the media is to get an answer, did somebody just go on, "Well, Coach, about that box score"? No, this is something that he needs to answer.
Actually, actually you said that. I'll see if I can dig up a transcript because I would like to see now the next question.
Mm-hmm. Me too. So, I love that shirt.
Yeah. Well, we'll get it. Let me see if I can.
Awesome.
Let me see if I can just dig if there's a transcription. Sometimes there's those where you can look and see like the order of the questions, and also where you can just see where they came in because that's always fascinating too.
The denial, and then I poured my heart and soul
Oh, my
into
gosh.
this job, and how could you? It's so selfish.
I
poured my heart and soul.
I
into
left
this
my
job.
family. But again, I look at it. Okay, he left his family.
It's also
So-
an odd comment, by the way.
Well-
Wait, we got to hit a break.
I
We got to hit a
poured my
break.
soul into this
803-404-6100.
You don't understand
You're listening to the
how
early game.
hard I work.
Crystal Springs Drive near Edmond Highway still working that earlier tie-up, as well as Highway 1 near Raven Road, Highway 302 at Columbia Airport Expressway, I-20 westbound and I-26, still getting that cleaned up, as well as Stone Ridge Drive at Greystone Boulevard. Hot one today, looking for a high of 101 with that heat index about 107. 97 for the high tomorrow with some isolated thunderstorms. And that's pretty much the pattern, really, to get us through the remainder of the weekend. Highs in the mid-90s and those chances for scattered thunderstorms. But right now, it's warming up to 78 on the early game.
$7:35 as we roll along here this morning, a Wednesday morning. Reminder, as always, you can check us out a lot of different ways. Obviously, 107.5 The Game here in Columbia, 100.5 The Game in Florence, and 100.3 The Game in Myrtle Beach. Don't forget, you can download our app. Go to your app store on your smart device and download the 107.5 The Game app. And, of course, if you want to see us each and every morning, we are streaming on the Game TV, powered by Integrated Media on YouTube. You can check that out at the Game TV Radio, and that is sponsored by Shepherd's Glass. 803-404-6100 if you want to weigh in. Joined in studio now by the one and only John Strickland, back to hang out. And you look like a guy who's been hanging out and relaxing and enjoying the summer so far. Preston's been telling us about teachers who enjoy the summer. You look like a guy who's just enjoyed it without having to teach.
Yeah, got a little family vacay the other week down to Florida, and then going to Cabo next month. So been kind of hanging by the pool on the weekends, trying to get that tan.
That's the way to do it.
Yeah.
You look good. You look good in tan. So good to see you. And we've been talking a lot about this Jim Schlossnagle comment. You two have played college athletics, by the way, and several of y'all text in, and Preston and I, during that break, watched the press conference. So we discovered why there was no follow-up question, because he immediately stormed off of the stage. Stormed off of the stage. Matter of fact, the reporter's trying to thank him for the answer. Reporter got his quote, got everything he needed.
I mean, Bill, you got to leave. His bus was leaving. He had stuff he had to pack.
It's fair.
The movers were coming. He had to get to his spot.
That is a good point.
The cable man was coming to cut the cable.
The way that went down, I would imagine that his house was packed and ready to go. You don't go back to your house in College Station or Bryan or wherever and allow fans to put signs in your yard.
What time are the movers coming? Oh man, we got to get back. He was watching that long game. He's like, man, this game's lasted 4 hours, man. I got to be to Austin very soon.
He's like, at 12:01. At 12:01, they're putting the for sale sign up. I don't want anybody to know, but John, the world of college athletics. It's not that this is not what it is. This happens. It's the response that he gave.
Yeah, I thought it was strange, and then you're gone the next day, but. I guess officially, 2 days later? No,
he's gone the next. He was less than 24 hours.
Yeah, it was pretty quick, and it's coach speak is basically all it is. I mean, and honestly, I'll be honest with you, if I'm a player or anything to do with the university's baseball program, I'm not too happy with him. Because obviously something was going on behind the scenes, and how do you know this wasn't a distraction to his mindset for the biggest baseball series of the year?
Well, and we talked about, but not just the entire staff. He's taken the entire staff with him. That's another piece to this. Just that you're right. You're playing for national. I would assume though, as a competitor or as a high level competitor, you know how to focus in on what your job is at that time. And I will also say this, and person you kind of asked, football's a little bit different where you're having to make a lot of decisions. Baseball, you put guys out there. I know you have to make some decisions on taking pitchers out and maybe switching batters at times. But I feel like the players are going to be the one that guides you more in baseball than in other sports.
No, I don't know. I mean, he's the manager, so he's making all of these decisions. He's taking all of this stuff into account. And like Strick just said, you don't know where his mind was when it was supposed to be here focused. Because the thing about coaching is he's going to get to coach as long as he wants to. He will coach. But for some of those seniors, some of those guys who will never play baseball again, that was their last chance. And so while they're focusing on their last chance, he's worried about his potential future. So, yeah. I mean, he's probably not going to come. He's probably never going to see these dudes again. He's going to move on to his next crew. And, I mean, John,
you talking about the seniors? He won't see the seniors again?
Probably not.
Okay.
Because does he care about Texas A&M anymore? Is he welcome back there?
He'll be welcome
probably
back
not
with open arms when they play each other. I gotta look. I can't wait till that's the SEC on this one needs to have Texas visit Texas A&M next year for a 3-game series. That needs to be the rivalry there. Not A&M going to Texas. Texas has to make the short trip over to A&M.
Yeah, I'd love to see that. It'll be the best storyline in probably college baseball next year.
Yeah, and then hopefully he knows the secret hidden spots I hope he checked out the secret hidden spots in the Texas A&M visitor dugout where he can't get pelted with beer cans and anything else that they can throw at him.
It'd be interesting. Just that's what I would just say. If anybody that was planning on doing things in the future, Jim did not have those same plans.
Texter weighs in. Do you think he and his wife slept on a mattress on the floor, or did they stay in a hotel? House was empty before he ever left Omaha. It's a good question. It's a good question. 803-404-6100. Big picture sports. How does this fit in? I brought up the transfer portal earlier, and you have a coach now who's doing this, and we've gotten on the players and saying there's no loyalty.
Yeah, I mean, it's a tough call. I mean, it really is on this. It is very similar. But you know what? Actually, I think it's a little bit different because it seems like this coach had his mind made up before the season was over, and he's the head coach. Some of these players that transfer, well, the season's over, they sit down, they talk about it, and then they make a decision, several weeks later. So, but, I mean, it is kind of just dipping out in the middle of the night. Well, let me go try this place out for a little bit.
Well, Strick, you played for different position coaches throughout your time at USC. And I'm assuming, because I didn't play for those coaches, but I'm assuming that greatly varied your playing experience.
That's such a great point. I'll be straight up with you. I feel like I was a better player my junior year than I was my senior year because I had a different style of coaching my senior year. I'll be straight up with you on that.
I tell you what, let's come back. We're up against this one, and we'll let you two get into that and kind of go back and forth on some of that. 803-404-6100. Patrick does weigh in during the third inning. He had a text about the new paint scheme in the new house.
Well, no, we can't go with the maroon. Maroon's not our color anymore, honey. Burnt orange.
There you go. You're listening to Bill Gunner, Preston Thorne, Jen Jensen, joined in studio by John Strickland. It's the early game. Bill Gunner for Mid-State Roofing. For nearly 30 years, Larry Leitner and the Mid-State Roofing family have been the industry leader in the roofing and waterproofing business, and it's their professionalism, the way they handle their business, and the way they make sure that you're happy with it, that is your assurance that their professionals will provide the proper advice, service, and results to the needs of your facility. Give them a phone call, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. They are ready to help you with a maintenance contract. 803-356-1919. You can visit them online, midstateroofing.com. From high-rises to hospitals, manufacturing to industrial, Mid-State Roofing designs and installs bonded systems with a protective guarantee that'll keep your operation dry and running long into the future. And again, they do that 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Give them a phone call today, 803-356-1919. If you've got a leak, let Mid-State Roofing take a peek. Bill Gunner for the Ecton Law Firm. If you've had some tax issues lately, if you've received one of those nasty letters from the IRS and it's causing you stress, keeping you up at night, don't let that happen. Contact the Ecton Law Firm today. Don't let those tax troubles weigh you down. You can get a free consultation, 803-771-9800. John Ecton and his team, they are dedicated to resolving your income or business tax issues for good. They understand the challenges that you face, and that's why he and his team are ready to offer you the peace of mind that you deserve. So again, line up that free consultation today, 803-771-9800. Time is limited. You need to get in touch with them, so make the phone call today. Don't wait another day. Don't go through another day of stress. Call the Ecton Law Firm, 803-771-9800. Tell them Bill Gunner sent you. 747 as we get you up and get you going, and I'll flip it back over to Preston and John here because y'all were about to go down a very interesting path as it pertains to playing for different coaches and how it can impact your time as a player and even how you maybe look back on your experience playing in college.
Well, part of the larger conversation is that Jim Schlossnagel has defected out of Texas A&M, going to Texas, but not only is he leaving, but he's taking his assistant coaches with him. So he's taking a large staff. And so I was asking my guy Strick over here how his playing experience was changed or altered by having different coaches during your time at South Carolina.
Yeah, so like my junior year, well, let's just start here. My first 3 years, Coach Lounsbury was, the guards and centers coach, and then Googe was, tackles, tight ends. And then you go into my junior year when I became the starter. I had Coach Googe as my coach at offensive line at center, and so I learned a lot from him, and felt like coming out of my junior season, felt like I was playing some of the best football I'd ever played in my life. And and then some things happen. People don't agree, but or administration and coaches don't agree. But so Googe is let go, and of course we know he goes on to coach in the NFL for quite a while. And now he's with Skip over at Birmingham.
3-time champ.
Yep.
Dynasty
And so then we bring in a new coach, and I just, I had a little bit of hype going into, myself going into my senior year, being on the Remington Award list, and, coaches, took me to SEC Media Days. That was super cool. And preseason, all SEC, because they really don't do a first or second team. They just kind of name a bunch of guys, or back then they did. So a lot of hype going into the season, but we play our senior season, still had a pretty good season, but honestly, I felt like it hurt my pro stock, and I think I was a better player my junior year than my senior year, and I think that had something to do with kind of the different coaching styles and the way you were taught during practice, and so yeah, it definitely had an effect on me.
Yeah, there's different levels to it. I mean, you can go with whether it's scheme, whether it's the coaching style, of like the coach's ability to get the best out of a particular player, or it could just be their teaching technique. Some coaches are really good teachers, some are not. We've seen this on various levels. We had our eye on what the difference was going to be between the defensive line this year and what it was going to be under when Jimmy Lindsey was here. We have seen an improvement in the line. Same players, improvement. That can happen when you have players that are working with different coaches. And so a lot of times when you see these coaches change, it does definitely affect. But at the time, especially at that point in your career, I mean, the transfer portal was not an option for us at that time. But even at that point, you were very deep into your career. It would have been very difficult for you to make a choice like that.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't have made it even in today's world.
Right.
You know, I've already been asked about this, thought about this before, just sitting back reflecting on all this stuff that goes on today. I mean, even with the offensive line coach, I mean, even, you know, the amount of money, maybe you can go get more money somewhere else, but you're already 4 years deep, man.
Right.
Like, let's finish this thing out no matter what here.
Yeah, and just even between those two coaches, I mean, Googe was a force of personality, and I always admired how y'all loved
it, man.
You loved playing for him. And I couldn't understand it because he used to curse at them all the time. And he used to yell and scream at them. Like, why they like this dude? But they all loved him. And later on, I understood it. I definitely got that. But yeah, your assistant coach can change everything about how they go. So there's a lot of those young folks that are at Texas A&M right now. Some may be thumbs up because maybe they're glad to see somebody leave, or some of them could maybe trying to figure out what they're going to do because their guy is leaving.
Going back to, real quick, I want to go back to the defensive line thing. How long do you think it takes an assistant coach like that to really implement his scheme? Because the reason I ask is Travian Robinson did not get a spring practice to change maybe what he wanted to do or to teach new techniques last year. He had to basically start coaching in August when you're more getting ready for the season and you're more starting to focus on an opponent as opposed to just the basic fundamentals, certain things that he wants to do. He got that this spring. Does that make a little bit more of a difference, the fact that he was able to get 14 practices in a spring game? You just mentioned just talking about things you learned, not necessarily game planning, but things you learned.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, the spring practices matter because – especially if you have a new coach coming in, you know, you get to know him kind of through winter workouts because all the coaches are out there with the players. You get to know him, but then having that time during the spring to know, you know, and I'm speaking from my experience because my new offensive line coach came in January or December or whatever. So I got him that spring going into my senior year. And, yes, it lets you get acclimated to how that coach is going to coach you, how he's going to teach you, and all this. So I definitely think it makes a huge difference that a coach being there in spring and then going into camp versus coming in summertime, basically, or well, I guess it was late spring last year, but not getting that time in with him. You got time in another coach, but you come into fall camp and it's the first time getting coached by him. I mean, you can get a lot done in fall camp, trust me, but I think that spring is a big help, 100%.
And then also, I guess you would say there's a system shock, as you just mentioned, with Googe to maybe someone who's nicer or a more, I don't want to say player-friendly coach, but we've talked about it. Jimmy Lindsey was a pretty nice guy. Travian Robertson has a little more of the, let's say, Brad Lawing style of coaching to him.
A little more of an edge. Yeah, I could definitely see that. And I could see you all. My question is, when did you know? When did you know when the new coach came in? When did you know that it was like, oh, this is not going to work? How fast was that?
Probably that first week of spring.
First week of spring. Oh.
Yeah. The first time you say, "Gosh darn it," I was like, I don't think.
Well, and that's
it's not my guy.
That's what I wonder. You know, the first time Travian Robertson got a little upset, they're like, "Oh, this is not Coach Lent. Why is he yelling like that?" We'll get into it. Hour 3, more to talk about. We'll even get into some video game discussion, more Jim Schlossnagel discussion, a little NBA discussion. We've got a lot to do. Hour 3 on the way.
In December 22, we ended up having the fun, shall we say, of a flood in the kitchen. Had to totally gut the kitchen And we went to CHW Cabinetry in Lexington for help to get that kitchen put back together. And they were fantastic. The process was very smooth. They helped us lay out the design, figured out accessories. And then that photorealistic rendering that I talk about, it was so important because, again, you see a picture of your finished kitchen, it's a lot easier to pull all of the other elements of the kitchen together. But kitchens, that's not all they do. We just recently had to get a new cabinet for a bathroom. Great process, no problems there. If you have a closet that needs to be more functional, you want to get those wire racks replaced. Maybe you want some fun drawers or a little pantry or a little hamper thing. They can help you out with that as well. Maybe you've got a home office space that you want to build. CHWCabinetry.com. That's a place to visit. Call them today at 803-520-6837. Be sure to tell them Jen Jensen sent you. CHW Cabinetry, passion from inspiration to installation. Clemson Road, a Longtown Road, still working that earlier tie-up. Also, I-77 northbound at Leesburg Road. There's a report maybe an object in the highway, so just kind of be extra cautious there. Highway 1 at Raven Road getting cleaned up, as well as Highway 378 at Pineview Road and Stone Ridge at Greystone Boulevard. Looking for a high today of 101. That heat index could creep up as high as 107. And then we're going to see basically the pattern of mid to upper 90s for the remainder of the week and weekend with some isolated thunderstorms possible. It's cloudy and 78 right now on the early game.
Hour number 3 here as we get you up and get you going. John Strickland joining us in studio, and we'll let he and Preston go in. There's a lot to laugh about the Jim Schlossnagle discussion. We've talked about it this morning a good bit, just more so because of the way he handled it. And it's part of college athletics now. I mean, it's what it is, but it's the way he handled it when all as simple as, I'm not ready to discuss that right now, or we will not discuss that right now. Again, the timing, if you're just tuning in, you're listening, Jim Schlossnagle again, former Texas A&M head coach, didn't even allow the bus to stop running before jumping ship and heading to Austin, Texas yesterday. And it's just part of the fact that the way he acted on Monday night, again, we'll let you listen to the audio, but an impassioned, angry response that then results in, when he finishes, getting up and essentially storming off of the podium at the press conference, not allowing for any follow-up, which is a smart move by him. Give him for the one thing he did, like no follow-ups. Respect his decision, I guess. That's
exactly what he said.
So, but it's that, and it's then, you said, I think one of y'all said 19 hours. I didn't look at the exact time that this started breaking, and I don't know the exact time, like say 11 p.m., 10 o'clock, whenever that press conference took place, then compared to the timing of when the announcement came. It wasn't more than 13 or 14 hours.
I mean, I'm pretty sure it was right before lunch yesterday,
Yeah.
right there at it. And
So you're looking probably somewhere in the 12-hour-ish mark.
Man,
which, you take away, 6 hours for sleep. We're not even going to give him the full 8. He wasn't even awake that long.
I mean, that's what makes it, for us, funny, bad. And then you throw let's just say he had gone to like Oklahoma State or Oklahoma, just another school that's not your main rival. All of this we can laugh at a little bit, but man, poor. And I don't even blame Texas. I don't even blame Chris Del Conte in Texas for this.
Yeah.
I blame Jim Schlossnagle for everything, for making himself look like a complete fool.
yeah, I mean, you go out, you hire who you think's the best coach. So no matter if they're have a job and are playing at the moment or not, you go after your guy and see if you can get the guy you think's who the guy is. I mean, luckily, Austin's only, an hour and 15 minutes away. So pretty easy transition for him. But, it's, this whole thing is so strange to me. Basically, you have the two richest schools, and actually A&M right now has more money than Texas. Now, we'll see how now that Texas is in the SEC where they kind of stack up. But A&M's kind of the top dog. I'm just trying to figure out why leave A&M for Texas. I know there's more pageantry and history with Texas baseball versus
it's a simple reason.
Baseball.
Preston pointed out earlier.
Yeah, so one of the reasons that his mentor and / one of his best friends, Chris Del Conte, who he used to coach under at TCU,
Right.
is now the AD at Texas.
Oh, okay. See, I missed that part.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you know what I did? I got on Wikipedia yesterday. So, dude, what?
Trying to find a connection.
And I couldn't find it.
Mm-hmm.
All
That's
right.
it.
Well, ding, ding, ding. Makes
go.
sense.
But still, the way, again, because as one texter points out, and I got to go back and just look at the exact timeline on Roy Williams, because Roy Williams did something really similar. I don't think we have that clip. We'll get to a few of them.
There was Roy Williams does have a clip, except little old sweet Roy cursed in the clip.
Yeah, Roy cursed in the clip. That's what said he. There's the poop emoji in there to describe the word he used.
Yeah.
But I got to look at it because I think it was at least a few days later, if not a week.
And this was Roy saying that I'm not leaving from Kansas. I'm not going to take the North Carolina job.
Right. Yeah. I mean, this happens. I get it. I get that these things happen. It's more of the time frame of you're going to be that emphatic, and you're not even going to make it to lunch. They can't even serve lunch at Texas A&M before you're out the door.
Yeah, I mean, I thought about it yesterday, too. Like, if I was in his shoes, I'd be able to wait a few days and then let's announce this thing. But you know what? In today's world with the transfer portal going on right now, you literally have to make decisions really quick.
That's true.
Because you have to hit the road running on these transfer portal guys. I mean, you do. And so I understand it from that point, but, man, it just seems so, ugh.
Preston, do you agree with that, with what he just said about that? Because that's a great point about he's got to get over there. I don't know I have zero clue what Texas baseball roster looks like and what's coming back and what's going to the draft and what their class is. I have no clue. But
I would agree with that, except that's only assuming that he hasn't been doing this already, that he hasn't been telling all the people who he's looking for, hey, things are happening. Keep an eye out on me. Something's going to happen here pretty soon. So, yeah, I would agree with that, but I wouldn't put it past them to have been doing this type of stuff already.
Yeah, I'm pulling the actual tweet back up that you referenced earlier from Kendall Rogers to read it verbatim. But Kendall Rogers yesterday basically putting out essentially that this may have been may have already been done by the time at the end of the regular season.
Yeah,
that they played the entire thing. This is the actual Kendall Rogers tweet coming at midnight last night. One interesting note is I was told by multiple sources today that this deal, at least at the highest level, was done between A&M's series with Georgia and before the regional round. It's truly a fascinating search hire to unpack, and he's going to have more on this, but it's just kind of interesting to know. And by the way, Texas A&M is expected to spend roughly $80 million on their ballpark. They have raised $80 million in pledges. This is the other tweet he put out. He says, I'm not going to speak. This is Kendall Rogers, at Kendall Rogers on Twitter/X. I'm not going to speak for Jim Schlossnagle on this. I don't really care what decision he made, but the concerns about the ballpark as of today are unfounded. I was told, this is Kendall Rogers. Kendall Rogers was told over the weekend, Texas A&M has more than $80 million in pledges for ballpark renovations, more than actually expected. That's also on fans. You just did that to your fans. Your fans, hey, if you're going to complain about your ballpark and about everything, and people are going to put the money up. Now, Texas A&M should have no problem going out and hiring another pretty good coach. But now somebody else is going to be asked today.
Somebody's nervous, or somebody's nervous, and somebody's agent just said, hey,
somebody's cell phone
my guy.
We got turned off.
He's my
3 or 4 coaches' cell phones are now off. And there's
calls come. There's a lot of people,
reporters
folks
reaching out to different coaches today, going, "You want to comment on Texas A&M?" Matter of fact, during the break, I'll see if I can pull up a Texas A&M site and see if we have a big board. Because right now, after what Jim Schlossnagle just did, you don't want to be on Texas A&M's initial hot board for baseball coaches.
Well, I think you're going to see. This is just my thoughts. I'm like, man, who's Texas A&M going to hire? Because they got more money, they can go out and spend a ton of it. I mean, they're going after Tim Corbin at Vandy. They're going, that was my first thought. Like, they want to go out and make like a
splash,
huge splash hire. There was speculation about the Tennessee coach, in with Texas, but little did everybody know, we got what we got.
That was already done. But, Jen, this goes to my favorite point, one of my favorite points of coaches' denials. And can we pull up clip number 9? Because who would have suspected that the head coach of Notre Dame you would never leave Notre Dame for another job, would you, Brian Kelly? Of course we wouldn't. Jen, can we get clip number 9? Brian Kelly here.
I think Mike Tomlin had the best line, right? Unless that fairy godmother comes by with that, $250 million check, my wife would want to take a look at it first. I'd have to run it by her.
Thank you.
Yeah.
8 days later, he was at LSU. He said that the fairy godmother must have came because he was in talks about whether or not he was going to take the job at, the rumors were out there. Brian Kelly said, no, come on, guys. Fairy godmother. There's no way that's going to happen. 8 days later.
And he said $250 million. What was his contract he got?
I'd have to look it up. Yeah. It's a good contract. It's a little less. It's not $250 million, but apparently there might have been some perks to it. It's interesting. I'm reading some of the tweets that have come. This is actually from a former Texas A&M first baseman, Hunter Melton, who said to all high school and transfer portal guys, think long and hard before you play for this guy, Jim Schlossnagle. He's all about himself and everything he does and has shown his true colors to the players and to the university. Glad he is out. This program doesn't need that. Also, his players learned about this via social media, not from him. And I don't know how you guys are like. You guys talked about when Coach Gouge was let go. How did you learn about that? Did he text you? Did Coach Holtz call you in for a meeting? That is an interesting when you learn about your coach being let go.
You know, that was a long time ago. Yeah, I'm getting old here.
We did have text messages back then, though.
Yeah, no, I know we did. I know that we got called to a players meeting with Coach Holtz, and we let like several coaches go. And I'm pretty sure that's how we were all informed, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, that feels about right. A similar one I can think about, and I told Tyler this last week. Charlie Strong was always in conversations about the next job, and the way our relationship was, we could kind of joke with him like, "Man, Chuck, I heard about Michigan State." He'd be like, "Nah," and he would be pretty upfront and honest. So he'd be like, "Or maybe there's something to this one." But I think whatever the first year we was out, I remember he called and was like, "Hey, I just want to let you know before you hear it on anywhere else, that I'm going to take the job in Florida." So I heard directly from him before he would always leave, because it was always a conversation that was happening. But you do not want to find out about that on social media, especially after you just lost your game too. That's tough.
I'm gonna dig a little bit into that. Get two players' opinions. The role of the coach to keep his players just slightly informed, because you guys 04, both of y'all were 04 was your final year, right? The Clemson Brawl game.
Yeah.
Because there were rumors way before that about Holtz stepping down and Steve Spurrier coming in. Because College Bill, who tailgated a tad bit too much, remembers threatening a bunch of Florida fans on the way to the Florida-South Carolina game in 04, as I'm walking into that game, that we were going to beat them and then take their former coach a few weeks later. And I don't know if y'all remember how that game went. I remember how that game went.
I remember how the last two went, and I'll just I had insight already going into it.
Hold on.
Yeah,
Let's hit the break. We'll come back because I want to get y'all's opinion on that also, because y'all can also talk about that situation, how it was playing out for y'all and what you were hearing, and also for the younger players who were probably going to go through a coaching change. You're listening to Preston Thorne, Bill Gunner, Jen Jensen, John Strickland in studio with us. It's the early game. Bill Gunner for Corley Pool Solutions, who believes in providing the absolute highest quality swimming pool service at the most affordable price to you and your family. So as we hit peak summer season, is that pool clean? Does it have algae in it? Have you got some other issues taking place and you're not sure what to do? Call Corley Pool Solutions today. Get that summer maintenance lined up. 803-445-8109. The routine pool maintenance is crucial to the daily operation of your pool and long-term operation of its systems and components. You got to remember about the systems and components, and that's where Corley Pool Solutions comes in. They know how to maintain that pool. They've been in business for over 20 years taking care of pools around the Lake Murray area, and they are ready to help you. So line up your summer maintenance today. 803-445-8109. They have flat rate pricing, including all of the chemicals. You know what you're paying for. Call Corley Pool Solutions today. Tell them Bill Gunner sent you.
Highway 378 at Pineview Road still could be slowing things down, as well as Stone Ridge at Greystone Boulevard. I-26 eastbound, exit 102, there is a tie-up there. Clemson Road at Longtown and Highway 1 at Rabin Road still in progress. And we're looking for a high today of 101. Heat index, about 107. And then we'll probably be in the mid to upper 90s really through the weekend. And looking for those isolated thunderstorms. Well, we're not looking for them, but there's a possibility that we could actually experience them again this week and into the weekend. But right now, it's a little bit overcast, 77 on the early game.
$8:19 as we kind of roll along here. Preston Thorne, John Strickland, Bill Gunner discussing. I'm interested to hear this. Couple of things. Let's go down history here. Back in the day, you guys. Now the difference is you guys were seniors. Y'all were wrapping it up, and there was a lot going on with Lou Holtz and everything that we've kind of discussed. But how did y'all process what was starting to take place with Lou Holtz and potentially Steve Spurrier? And I'm interested to hear maybe if y'all talked to some of the underclassmen as well as things started to wrap up back then.
Well, I'd already kind of been tipped off by my late good buddy Phil Petty. Phil had, Phil was a GA on the team, and Phil, we were walking out of practice one day. He's like, "Strick, guess what, dude? Let me just tell you something. This is when we were sitting at 4-1, but me and Phil, we kept this conversation between each other. I didn't tell anybody. I kind of laughed it off and didn't think anything serious about it. But he's like, I'm hearing, after this season, Lou may retire, and Steve Spurrier's already sitting there waiting to be lined up, and he's coming here." I was like, "What? Come on, man. Stop messing with me." I thought Phil was just screwing around or whatever. Because if you know Phil, he would do something like that. But, so, from everything I know now, being older and everything that went down, once we won that 6th game against Arkansas, that's when Lou – I think Coach Holtz and McGee had already agreed on it. Hey, when you hit the 6 wins, all right, you can go ahead and step down, because Lou was ready to retire, man. He wanted to come in, help South Carolina kind of get on the map here, which he did. And that led into the Spurrier years. Then we, had some not so great years here, not, the Muschamp era and whatever.
Yeah.
But, Lou told us, the Friday of the Florida game, man. And I ain't gonna lie to you, I was so pissed off. And I even told Lou, I think, I don't know, we talked at some point. I just told him I disagree with telling all of us you're going to retire. It's like, just wait till after the season, because we're already locked in the bowl game. Just wait till after the season, and then it can be your last hoorah with the bowl game. And then, hey, appreciate you, Coach, whatever. Well, I'm telling you, I don't know how he feels about it, but I could see it right after he told us. It was, I don't know, it was probably 2 or 3 days before the Florida game. And I'll be honest with you, he kind of lost the team by doing that. I mean, I think you had some of the young guys on the team kind of had the mindset, well, dang, man, the coach is leaving that were, came to South Carolina. Lou Holtz came here to play, and now he's retiring on us. And so I think you had a lot of guys kind of just said, well, I can do whatever I want, because guess what? We're going to have a new coach here in a few weeks anyway. So you just kind of do it. So I think, we were talking about team off the air. We could have easily, you look at it, you could easily been 8-0. Easy. You lose the Georgia game. Lose the Georgia game. All right, we had no business losing that game. We lose that game. All right, and then we lose the Ole Miss game. Okay, and
then I'm looking right now. The next week, and I remember going to this game. It was a cold night up in Kentucky, and Demetrius couldn't hold on to the ball. Mike Rath and Troy Williamson hook up in the back of the end zone at the very end of that game to win 12-7 to get you to 5-2 at that point. You come back, you get the bye week. You're 5-2, and you come back, and it was kind of a shootout against Tennessee, and you lose 43-29.
Okay, that was So that game was before. All right, but going into that, you could have been after that going into the Arkansas game 7-1. Okay. And you win that Arkansas game, you're sitting there in 8-1. I mean, you got a lot to play for, and but it wasn't that way. We wound up we're 6-2, and or 6-3 actually, because Georgia, Mississippi, and Tennessee. Yeah. So, but anyways, that team had a lot of potential. Had obviously Dondrell got injured that Georgia game early in the season. I don't think the offense was ever quite the same, even though you did have a few good games, and Dondrell did come back, threw for a ton of yards, I think, against Tennessee. 2 for 306. Yeah. So
Demetrius ran for 95 in that game. I'm looking at the stats here.
Another dude got hurt in that Georgia game. Two of them. Sidney Rice pregame, and this cornerback by the name of Jonathan Joseph.
Yep.
Out for the season.
Yep. So you just had some injuries on some guys that were really good players and contributors. Happened early in that year. But even with that, I mean, we were still in all those games except for those last two after and this is what we're talking about. Coach Holtz tells us, hey, I'm retiring after this year. I mean, he should have waited till after the season. We already know we're going to a bowl game. And I think that's part of the reason the Clemson brawl happened. I mean, we had guys on the team, just doing their own thing and running down there to the bottom of the hill. Now, I think all the pregame antics is kind of what got this whole thing rolling for that game. And then, of course, Savell gets hit and backup DN, this white kid, what's his name? I don't remember his name. Like poking Savell in the eyes and stuff and trying to punch through his mask while he's on top of him on the ground. And Jabari saw it and, hey.
Jabari handled business as he does. But the point is this. When Coach Holtz announces his retirement, you have guys that are saying, well, he's gone. And you have guys like Strick, Austin, other dudes who are pursuing the NFL path. Okay, well, that's probably what I need to focus on because we don't have a head coach anymore. You have younger guys who are like, I just committed here. What's going to be happening in this program? You have other guys, I'm a senior. Probably the right thing would be, hey, guys, let's gather around. I was like, no, man, I'm so tired. I'm ready to move on. And the person who's in charge here is stepping away. And as you said, I vividly remember that conversation because it was a night practice. And I'll just say the mood in the locker room was not one of awe. There was not many sad people in the locker room when Lou decided to retire. I won't say it was a celebration, but
at that point, everything had run its course.
I think it was a lot of mixed emotions between, a lot of the guys. And I can tell you this, we're talking about Florida wasn't that good that year. Yeah, we were better than that Florida team, but guess what? What just happened 2 or 3 days earlier took a toll on the team, and we go down there and just did not show up. And the same thing happened the following week going to Clemson. Just did not show up, and, we know what happened there. So.
Yeah, it should be noted y'all scored first, too, in that game in the first quarter. I remember that Gonzie Gray, I think, had a touchdown run.
Yep.
And then Florida proceeded to score 48 straight.
48 straight, man. And we didn't score a point. And we were going for it on 4th and 1s.
You know how a team scores 48 straight points? It's called when your defensive coordinator had zero adjustments for the formation that they're running. That's what it's called. Shout out to you, Coach Mike Minner. Shout out to you, the doctor of defense.
Yeah,
48 straight points.
Just trying to look back at that. It's interesting.
48.
Y'all walking back through that timeline and how the players are. Obviously, Jim Schlossnagle.
I think I missed a sack there.
Not not retiring. But Jim Schlossnagle, what he did do is withhold this information. Like you said, Lou had been ready to retire. Schlossnagle knew he was moving on, and obviously wasn't going to tell his players that, because that would have gotten out. And, by the way, you got to admit, Texas also did David Pierce pretty dirty on this. Like, if you've got that deal locked up, this is the underbelly. You've got that deal locked up basically at the end of May, and you held him for another 26 days. Now, I wonder if David Pierce had gotten word of it and was just like, man, I'm going to just chill. I'm not going to recruit. I'm not going to do anything. They're going to fire me anyway.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of today's sports, man. Once the season's kind of already not looking great, your AD and his search crew are already out contacting coaches while you're still coaching. I mean, it is what it is. I mean, that's the way.
But you know what? You made a great point about the transfer portal and having to get somebody in there as quickly as possible.
I mean, the portal literally opened right when regional started, right? And I think you only have I
think they had about 15 to 30 days, depending on if a coach is fired or what it is. So
yeah,
we'll continue this. You look like you got to get out of here.
Yeah, I'm about to get up out of here. I just want to thank Strick. Always good to see you, my brother.
Yes, sir.
Strick, I just realized how much of a better person Strick is, because he's been protecting his former offensive line coach, making y'all Google. And I don't care. Mike Minter gave up 48 straight points.
Rick Minter.
Oh,
Rick
yeah,
Minter. Mike's the son. I know you're trying to take the son down too.
Both of them. Get them out of here. Rick Minter, please. The defense. 48 straight points to Rex Grossman. Get him up out of here.
Chris Leak.
Yeah.
Who threw for 319 and 6 touchdowns.
Get Rick Minter out of here. Rick Minter out of here. This is my campaign I'm running. I stand for this message. Rick Minter,
we'll see you tomorrow. 803
48 straight points.
It's the early game. Bill Gunner for the mortgage guru, Jacob Crowder with First Palmetto Bank. I know that Jacob Crowder is indeed the mortgage guru in this market, and the reason I know that is because just a few years ago, I used him. He put me in that condo that I have on the lake, and he helped me get a great interest rate. And he can do the exact same thing for you. He and First Palmetto Bank, locally owned and operated, which means they have local decision makers for quick and precise underwriting. So if you're looking to make a move, give Jacob Crowder a call today. 803-719-1005, or you can email him to letter J Crowder at First Palmetto Bank. Interest rates stabilizing as well as the local housing market, and that means First Palmetto Bank is ready to help you. If you're looking to move, if you're looking to buy, if you're looking to refinance, or if you're looking to build, now is the time to call First Palmetto Bank. They even have a no-nonsense construction loan that'll fit your needs. For more information, call the mortgage guru, Jacob Crowder, with First Palmetto Bank.
And I'll tell you what, we are looking at a warm forecast. Looking for a high today of potentially 107 with a heat index, and that's just no joke. But as far as your forecast goes, as far as your traffic is concerned, is what I wanted to say, Clemson Road at Longtown should be in the cleanup stages as Stone Ridge Drive at Greystone Boulevard, and still have an accident out there, I-26 eastbound at Lake Murray Boulevard. And again, those warm temperatures in the forecast really through the weekend, and chances for afternoon or evening thunderstorms. It's 79 right now on the early game.
.35, joined in studio by John Strickland as Preston Thorne heads out to do a little work with the kids for some reading, and we'll kind of wrap you up this morning. Appreciate you coming in. Look forward to having John here as part more of our football coverage during the year, breaking down the offensive line, because as Ray called in earlier and said, the offensive line this year will be pivotal for this team. But I want to get back to a conversation we're having, and I'm interested to hear your opinion on this, because as we get into this era of portals and NILs and all this, what is the role of a coach? And Preston did a good job talking about what Charlie Strong did, kind of keeping the players informed, his defensive players informed when Charlie Strong was at South Carolina on kind of what was going on when his name would come up. What do you think the role of a coach now is to keep his players informed with honesty or secrecy or whatever when their names pop up for a job? Because you made a point, and I thought it was really good. You start losing games, you already know your name is on the hot seat. The AD's normally not sitting back going, well, we'll just let this play out and figure it out at the end of the season. They start formulating a list right then, and you start hearing rumors. The rumors will be out there. So what do you think the role is of a coach if he sees his name popping up to keep his players informed?
Honestly, I mean, I think in today's world, you have to keep your players informed because, and I'll be honest with you, I think, if I was a player and I heard my coach's name pop up, which I do remember when Chuck's name kept popping up for defensive coordinator jobs or possible head coaching jobs. Yeah, I mean, we all knew about it. I mean, you could watch it on ESPN, you hear it on the radio, whatever. I mean, it definitely would pop up because Charlie was, he was a hot commodity back then, and he kept on being a hot commodity. But, yeah, no, I think coaches – I would prefer say if I was a coach, if my name's floating around, I'm going to be straight up with my players. So I think I think it actually, you gain a little more respect from your players if you keep them informed like that. I think it's a good thing for any college coach. Head coach – head coach feels a little bit different, especially if it's in the season. Well, I guess you can address something and say, well, hey, Shane Beamer, such and such is interested in hiring him and blah, blah, blah. I mean, I just think you got to be straight up with your players. It's just hard to tell players, and going back to the Coach Holtz retiring thing, I think it's just hard to tell players, I'm out of here while you're still playing. I think it's because you kind of walk a fine line. Like I think Lou lost the team when he did what he did.
It does. I don't know if that story's ever really been told and broke down the way it did, and it explains a lot 20 years later. But the truth is that's a little bit different in terms of a retirement. I get that, as opposed to having to deal with your name being mentioned, because now there's going to be a coach out there somewhere. By the way, I'm on Gig'em 247 here looking. There is a lot of anger on the message board for Texas A&M, but there's not a hot list yet. There will be at some point today, I would assume, because they can't promote anybody on staff. The whole staff went with him to Texas, so they can't promote anybody. So they got to go hire somebody. So today, at some point, and I'm sure on other message boards they've already other Texas A&M message boards they've already done. But there's going to be a hot list, and there's going to be 4 or 5 names that make legitimate sense. And maybe they're smaller schools, maybe they're bigger schools. And that coach will then have to deal with this not only with his team, but through recruiting. And there's going to be a level of honesty that I think has to be maintained. Am I correct in that? Some level of honesty?
Yeah, 100%. And you know what? So Texas A&M is not really a super tradition-rich baseball school. You know, they've never won a national championship. They've been to the World Series a handful of times, but they've never, really won a ton in baseball. But, I mean, it is Texas A&M.
Mm-hmm.
The ballpark they have right now, it already holds like 6,000 to 8,000 people. It's pretty big. I've been there before. And then they're going to put $80 million into
That's
it.
the discussion, is to really re-enhance
and
their facility.
They have the money.
Yes.
So they have the money to do that, and they had the money to go out and hire just about anybody they want. So, I don't foresee it being a problem with A&M baseball finding a solid coach.
Yeah, I'm just looking. It looks like just some of the names they're throwing out that are some of them, because as you mentioned, this is just I'm reading here off of. It kind of looks more like a message board poster, but mentioning names like Brian O'Connor at Virginia. We know they were just in the College World Series. Mitch Canham at Oregon State, and they've been really good. And these are guys, and they throw Tim Corbin on there, but these are guys who Texas A&M can throw a lot of money at. But I go back to it, what I think is really interesting now in this day and age with sources everywhere, but also coaches now having to kind of protect themselves and their players at the same time. Again, that's why let's play it one more time. Let's get it one more time, Jim. This is Jim Schlossnagle. This is also why you got to be very selective in what you say when you are interviewed. And sometimes just the no comment, even if that doesn't help quell the rumors, the no comment is the best comment, because this is about the worst you can do.
About your future in Aggie land.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's pretty selfish of you to ask me that question, to be honest with you. But I left my family to be the coach at Texas A&M. I took the job at Texas A&M to never take another job again, and that hasn't changed in my mind. And that's unfair to talk about something like that. That'd be like you asking Montgomery if he's going to sign in the draft. But I understand you got to ask the question. But I gave up a big part of my life to come take this job, and I've poured every ounce of my soul in this job, and I've given this job every single ounce I can possibly give it. So write that.
Oh.
Coach, thank you very much.
How nice of the reporter to say thank you very much, because, I might have just shut
You're
my
going to throw
mouth
the mic
or,
at him?
or said something else, yeah.
All right, that's just the worst reply any coach has ever given, in my opinion. Typically, you just kind of no comment it, hey.
Or you do this. Let's play number 7 real quick. This is Jimbo Fisher refusing to acknowledge Texas A&M rumors. This is kind of at least handle it this way. Here's Jimbo Fisher.
Jimbo, obviously you made it a point that you're not going to comment on jobs with us.
Mm-hmm.
What do you tell your players? Because they're interested.
No, just like that. We're playing, controlling what we can play. We're getting ready to play this week in ULM. Now I'm being here coaching you right now, so let's go.
And, I'm sorry.
No, we're going to be ready to play.
And also, to your fans, because you can speak to the fans. When is it the right time to talk about jobs?
I'm not going to speak about jobs right now.
That's the way you do it.
I mean,
that's the way I would do it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's pretty cut and dry. Just say it and move on. But he wanted to. I don't. What's so weird about?
I'll tell you what. Let's do this. We got to hit this break.
Yeah,
we'll come back. I'll let you get that thought in, because again, you just heard what Jim Schlossnagle said, and then you heard what Jimbo Fisher said.
Yeah. And
you're right. There's some. We'll get your final thoughts on the Schlossnagle thing. Bill Gunner, John Strickland, Jen Jensen. It is the early game. Bill Gunner for Mid-State Roofing for nearly 30 years. Larry Leitner and Mid-State Roofing. They've been the leader in the roofing and waterproofing industry. And let me tell you what, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, they are ready to show you why they are the leader. If you've got a leak, let Mid-State Roofing take a peek. And if you find that leak at, say, 12 a.m., 1 a.m., 2 a.m., guess what? Mid-State Roofing is there to help you because 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, Mid-State Roofing either has an on-call technician or a Mid-State Roofing employee ready to take your phone call. So from high-rises to hospitals, manufacturing to industrial, Mid-State Roofing designs and installs bonded systems with a protective guarantee that'll keep your operation dry and running long into the future. For more information and to learn more about how you can get a maintenance contract, contact Mid-State Roofing today, 803-356-1919. Again, that's 803-356-1919. Give them a call. Tell them Bill Gunner sent you. Wrapping it up, John Strickland hanging out with us. Preston Thorne had to dip out there about 15 minutes ago, but John Strickland holding the fort down and offering some sage words of advice there as we wrap up this Jim Schlossnagle conversation, which more centers around if he waited a week, I'm not sure I would even care about this to take the Texas job. I'd probably just strike it up as post after the World Series, after you lose by a run, you're a little heated, you're a little fired up. And maybe we all say things, Lord knows, as a person who talks for a living for 3 hours in the morning, say things that we don't necessarily mean or in the heat of the moment. Doesn't make it right.
Never happens.
Doesn't make it right. But if he waited a week, I'd be like, okay, that was dumb. Let's move on. He didn't wait 12 hours to announce his decision or for them to announce it. And that, to me, is even the worst part of this.
Yeah, I mean, very strange. And I think I told you in Preston earlier, off air when we were just talking, I was just like, you know what, if it was me personally, probably would have at least waited a few days. But, we get back to the transfer portal era. Our two assistant coaches right now are on the road recruiting baseball players in the transfer portal right now. They're not home and in town.
Right.
And that's what they've been doing since Malinari was hired. And so I get it. But going back to his press conference, I think it was just immature, kind of childish the way he handled it. Basically getting after that reporter like that when there's rumors that are actually not rumors, they're facts that he's leaving. And for him to kind of go off on the reporter like that, I thought that was not a good look on his part. Take notes from the other former A&M coach with his comments. That's probably the best way to handle it.
Yeah, and that's what you have to do. I'm trying to look up real quick. A couple of y'all said, is there any difference between this and Roy Williams? Yeah, there's a little bit of a difference. again, in the heat of the moment, I don't expect. I don't expect Jim Schlossnagle or Roy Williams or anybody to go like, yeah, I'm in contention for that job.
Yeah,
I'm interested.
I'm headed to Texas tomorrow, but hey, it is what it is. Nah.
Although that would actually be really interesting to see. Like, just take off the top of the jersey, leave it on the desk, leave the hat, be like, no, that was fun. That was fun, but I got to get down to Austin. We got to start recruiting tomorrow.
Now that would be wild.
But you don't expect to say it. At least, and I'm trying to just look at the timeline that was for Roy Williams on when he made his post national championship comments about not being interested in the Kansas job versus when he took the job. Because that, to me, is the crazy thing. You are so adamant. You're so strong on your feelings on Monday night. And you followed up with a write that down or write that. And 12 hours later, really the article can barely get out, so he does write it. And 12 hours later, Jim Schlossnagle's taking the job. They're having a press conference today, by the way, which also should be a little entertaining.
Actually, yeah, I may have to check that out.
I'm going to have to dig in a little bit and see if there's a place to listen and just see how it kind of goes down, because I would imagine the local Texas media, the Longhorn contingent, aren't going to ask, but I'd love to see this young reporter who was there in Omaha find his way into that press conference and be like, hey, good to see you again. Got a question.
Yeah, you know, it's so interesting, and if a lot of y'all aren't familiar with Texas, I mean, A&M is literally about an hour, just over an hour away from Austin. It is very close. So I'm sure they have a lot of the same beat writers and reporters that, attend both press conferences for both schools. So I think it'll be a very interesting press conference, to say the least.
For those interested, by the way, if you're just kind of sitting around the office or you're heading to lunch and you want something to kind of tune into, the press conference for Jim Schlossnagle today will be at noon. It's 11 a.m. Central Time. It'll be at noon and will be streamed live on TexasSports.com. So if you just want to see if old Schlossnagle is a little bit better at wordsmithing, you can check that out. Certainly going to get you back in here in the month of July and cut up and talk about. But quickly, just what you've been able to observe through spring week. I don't remember last time we talked to you about the offensive line and any progress you saw. We're going to talk a lot more in depth in the next few weeks with you, but your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I won't get into a bunch of names, but I think we have probably 8 solid guys fighting to be the starting 5 on the O-line right now. I think we see a drastic improvement this year, or, always knock on wood, I hope. But I'll tell you, the biggest thing I've seen there in the spring is, I'm telling you, don't sleep on this defense. I went out there several practices. They are legit. Our front 7 is legit. And
more athleticism at linebacker, do you think a big reason for that?
Oh, yes. Well, I just think some of these guys that have been around the program for so long now have just gotten so much better, and I think the portal guys we got back in December, they're going to make a big difference.
We're definitely going to get you back in here after the 4th of July. I know you got some vacation time as well, but we're going to get you back in here. We'll get more in depth with you on that as it pertains and start breaking it down. Appreciate you swinging by today.
Yes, sir. Enjoy it as always.
Look forward to seeing you again. For Jen Jensen, for Bill Gunner, for Preston Thorne, it's been fun. We'll be back tomorrow. Josh Harris, Darlington Raceway, will join us. We'll do some Braves talk. It's been the early game. Got it. Bill Gunner for Zerorez Carpet and Air Duct Cleaning. With summer here and more fun on the way, I bet the kids are tracking in all kinds of dirt and grass and leaving it all over the house, messing everything up. Well, guess what? Zerorez Carpet and Air Duct Cleaning are ready to help you. Make sure that house stays clean so that you don't have to do it. So you can give them a phone call today, 803-262-4020, or you can schedule online. ZeroResColumbia.com is the way to do that. Mention me, Bill Gunner, at 107.5 The Game, and you'll get 15% off all cleaning services. That's right, carpets, air ducts, upholstery, and area rugs, all 15% off. This is only for a limited time. And again, you need to mention me, Bill Gunner, at 107.5 The Game. So allow the cleaning pros at Zero Res Carpet and Air Duct Cleaning to keep